Hi, and welcome to the Health Begins with Mom show. I am Dorit Balvanov, your host. On this podcast, I will share insights and interviews on health, parenting, and explore the question of what does it take to thrive as women, wives, and mothers. Now, let's get going with today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Health Begins with Mom podcast. This is Dorit Balvanov, your host. If you are new to me or to the show, this is where we talk about the intersection between your health as a woman, your sacred work in your home as a wife and mother, and also tapping into your life's work as a healer and creative in a way that feels aligned, authentic, and of course, joyful. I believe that all mothers are healers and we can make the world a better place beginning with us, which is why the show is called Health Begins with Mom. Before I get further into the show, I just want to remind everybody that the show notes for today's episode can be found over at www.healthbeginswithmom.com/90. I can't believe we're 10 episodes away from 100 episodes. This is so cool. If you have ideas on how to celebrate, find me on Instagram. I go by @healthbeginswithmom, and let me know how you would like us to celebrate, because this is an occasion, 100 episodes of the Health Begins with Mom show. All right, so before we get into today's show, I'd like to remind you that the Health Begins with Mom Mastery program is officially open for enrollment. I was talking about this for a couple of weeks now. This program is a 6-month container where you will get to shift the focus for once on yourself. We will look into your health, your hormones, your cycle, your feminine energy, and how to heal your body with soul. I see this so much in my industry that, there are a lot of services out there, health services for women, but a lot of them are so rigid and so go, and so demanding in terms of your energy and time and commitment. And what I really was craving for myself many years ago is for all of this to be done with soul, for all of this to be done with a feeling of just gentleness and grace, and taking into consideration that my life as a mother who is raising young kids, my life a lot of the times is unpredictable, and I have to take this into consideration and into account. And so these, a program that would work for me has to be something that is open in a sense that it will allow for hiccups, it will allow for stretching, expanding, and then contracting, and then changing and shifting, and just take into consideration the fact that my life is chaotic right now, but I still want to heal. So if you're craving to be a part of nurturing, loving, and sometimes ass-kicking environment, then this is for you. Whether you want to work on balancing your hormones with food and supplements that are right for you, right? This is not where you're going to be taking 20 different supplements. If you want to lose weight, if you want to heal from painful periods, clean your skin, gain more energy, and feel alive and connected to yourself, again, this program is for you. So if you're interested, head on over to www.healthbeginswithmom.com/apply. Fill out the application on the page and we'll get on the phone to see if we are a good fit. I am happy to provide you with more details about the program as well as the investment. And by the way, something I would like to say about the investment. I know that some of you are thinking, I can't afford this right now, or this is not for me, or this must be so expensive, or 6 months sounds too long. I want you to still fill out the application and pass the barrier of your own mind. We all make assumptions, and you don't know what you don't know. So if you know that you need help, please don't let your head stand in the way of reaching out for help. Worst case, I will tell you that we are not a good fit, that this is not the right thing for you. So you really have nothing to lose. So again, head on over to www.healthbeginswithmom.com/apply, fill out that application, and we will talk. All right, so on today's on-air coaching call, you will meet Stephanie, who feels like she is in between two important people in her life. These people are her mom and her daughter. But she is struggling with understanding and knowing how to navigate this struggle and how to show up as the mother she wants to be and guide her daughter through her challenges as a 10-year-old. This was such an important coaching session, as I know that many of you are struggling with something similar. So I hope this conversation will give you a lot of clarity and clues as to where to start to remedy this kind of struggle. So as you listen, consider these questions. Do you feel like you are caught in between your daughter and your mother, where your daughter is struggling with finding her own voice in the world, and then your mom is not familiar with personal development work? Like Stephanie said on the show, she feels like there is a mess above me and a mess below me, and I don't know how to position myself in this. In other words, she doesn't know how to play this role in a constructive way that doesn't bog her down, that doesn't drain the energy out of her. Do you feel like you don't know how you can best guide your daughter in, maybe in general in life or in particular situations that are challenging? Do you feel like you're coming from a home where there was a lot of codependency and a lot of enmeshment? Were you also, like Stephanie, were put down, were asked to shut down, yelled at, told that you were overly dramatic and to stop exaggerating, and just to simply be quiet and not interrupt? Do you feel like this made you disconnected from yourself or from who you thought that you are? Are you driven for success, achievement, having more, doing more, but feel like you're not praised and appreciated by your external world? Growing up, how did you learn to soothe your emotional pain? And the last thing is, are you also into personal growth and do all the things right, but still feel like you don't know how to take care of yourself? So keep all these questions in mind as you listen to my conversation with Stephanie. Okay. Hi, Stephanie. How are you?
Hi, Dorit. I'm good.
All right. So what's your question? Let's jump right in. What is what are some ways that you're feeling not so connected to your essence as a woman? What is causing you the agony in your life?
So right now, this is really timely for me because right now I'm finding myself in an interesting position between my mother and my daughter. So I have done a lot of personal work myself. My mother has not done a lot of personal work herself. And so I'm caught in an awkward moment in my relationship with my mother. And my daughter is 10 years old. So she's moving into her puberty. She's taking that leap into young womanhood. Mm-hmm. And she is struggling. I don't know if that's the best word, but she's not having an easy time of it. It feels as though she's having a hard time navigating this space and finding herself within it. And so myself, having done a lot of work, I'm sitting here going, I've got a mess above me and I've got a messy thing kind of below me, and I don't know how to position myself in that space.
Right. And so many times, and correct me if I'm wrong, when we're doing so much work with ourselves and we're kind of like passed through the bullshit, we're like, come on, girl, you can do this. Like, it's easy,
Yes.
and we kind of like,
all you have to do is this, this, and this. Like, what are you waiting for?
Right. Just start journaling and just start waking up an hour earlier and just breathe and meditate and you're going to be fine. I hear you.
Yes.
So, okay. So, and when it comes to your mom,
So just because we don't have like all the time in the world, tell me in terms of, so you're in between, so you're the sandwich, you're the cheese in between these two crusts.
Yes.
Which relationship do you think is like, right now at this point of your time, of your life, which relationship is really, really needing, some TLC?
I would choose my daughter
Mm-hmm.
because of, having been someone who's done the work, the stuff that's going on with my mother. I am able to position myself, or I have been, after going through the hard stuff and having some triggering happen and having some shit come up. I was able to kind of sit with that and come to some kind of understanding of the role I can play within that that's in alignment with myself. With my daughter, like, I understand what she's going through, but I'm not entirely certain how I can best guide her.
Right. I love that. Okay, cool. So the first thing to understand is that when we as girls, and not every woman is a mother, but every woman is a daughter. Mm-hmm. So once in your life, you were a girl too. You were a little girl as well. So what I would recommend for you is to connect to your own, the 10-year-old Stephanie, and from that place to mother your daughter. So here's what I mean.
That's so interesting that you said.
Do you want to tell me why?
I can, but I don't want to interrupt your train of thought.
No, that's fine. That's the power of coaching, because when we are working with the coach is not the one who is giving us the answers. All the answers are within you. My work is just the mirroring, right? So I am like a mirror for you. I am the one who is asking you the questions that you don't even know to ask. Number two, you don't even dare to ask, because who am I to ask these questions?
That is my favorite question. Who am I? That's my favorite question. Yeah? I always come back to that.
Amazing. So that's amazing. You're already evolved. So let's start with that. What is coming up for you when you heard me say that, to connect to the 10-year-old inside of you? And that's, by the way, that is a great opportunity to also start the healing. So there's something that I talk about that is called healing the mother wound, healing that relationship between you and your mom. So let's get in there with your permission.
Oh, I've got so much stuff to give you right now. Okay, so the stuff with my mom is fairly recent. It obviously has a great deal of history behind it. I grew up, well, let's position it this way. She has lived with an alcoholic for 40 years, okay? Mm-hmm. And so as a result of that, she is also codependent, okay? Coming from that family, what happened recently was I realized that the relationship that I had with her was enabling her codependency. What was triggered in me and the kind of the shit that I had to sit with, I can say shit on this podcast. Yes. Are we explicit? We're good.
Yes.
Was, why am I so upset about this? Why has this completely thrown me into an agonizing rage? And as I sat with it, I vented the energy that day. I spilled it out to my husband, and he held space for me. He's very good for that when he knows I really need it. And then as I was kind of sitting with it in my meditation the next morning, I got this sense that it was all in my heart, and that there's this tear in my heart that's like an open wound, but it's an old wound. It hasn't scarred, it hasn't scabbed, it hasn't festered, but it also hasn't healed. Okay, so it's just sitting there as an open wound. And as I was sitting with that, what came up for me was this image of this bound, gagged young woman who I'm presuming my sense of her, she's around 14-ish in there. I haven't kind of probed it more deeply than that. But I did sit with her and kind of work to, unbind her and ungag her and figure out what it is that she has to say. And so this is very recent. Like, this was Monday. This was 2 days ago. And so the stuff that's coming up with my daughter is really coming up within the last couple of days very clearly. So I'm already, from the stuff that's going on with my mom, connecting back into that part of myself. And what you're saying is that's going to, connecting with that is what's going to help me lead my daughter.
So the 14-year-old, is it you or is it your mom?
No, it's me.
Oh, it's you. So the 14-year-old is you. Okay, so tell me more about her. Tell me more about that wound and what happened around that time that caused that wound.
She was...
that's you, right?
Yep. Okay, so at that time, I was... she's the part of me that was not allowed to have feelings. I always felt at that age that, like, my father has a lot of anger and my brother has a lot of anger. And so my father and my brother and my mom were like this conflict triangle. My mom is not a conflict person, but because of her position in the relationship, she was always drawn into it. And everybody else was allowed to have feelings, but I wasn't.
Yeah. Are you the youngest in the family?
I'm the oldest.
Okay, you're the oldest. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it just you and your brother?
Yes.
Okay.
And my mom and my dad, who are still married.
Okay. But why do you believe that you weren't allowed to have feelings? How did that manifest?
Well, because they were constantly shut down. It was constantly shut down. I was constantly yelled at for having feelings, told I was being unreasonable, told I was being overly dramatic, told to, what was the line he used to say to me, quit your caterwauling. It wasn't allowed. There was a space held for it. And so I always hated that. And I wasn't allowed to express how much I hated that.
Yeah.
And so that led to the gagging of all of that for me at that time.
Right.
And I think the binding of hand and foot kind of represents the powerlessness.
Right. And then talk to me a little bit about how were you coping with that? So how were you soothing that wound?
At that time, I was very fortunate to have an incredibly loving, supportive grandmother. I lost her the year before I had my daughter.
Interesting.
And she was a person who was always so proud of everything that I did. She was proud if I did it. She was proud if I intended to do it. She was proud if I had the idea to do it. She poured pride and love into me. And that was a big part of how I coped with that, was going to her and being in that space and being nurtured with that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I have to say, you're so lucky for having your grandmother. And can you tell me a little bit about, is she your mom's mom or your dad's mom?
Yeah, she's my maternal grandmother. She's my Nana. I miss her terribly. Yeah. Because that wound, I know exactly what that wound is. It's the hole it's the space, the container she used to fill.
Right.
And if at first it felt like a container, like a glass inside of me. And then the more I kind of sat with it, the more I realized that since she's gone, it's actually like a wound in my heart center. Like a tear, a space that she used to fill, that, like, my parents aren't those kind of people. I've always been, I always put effort into things. I am always driven to success and goal setting and goal reaching, and then more goal setting, and then more goal reaching, and growth and development and all of those things. And it's become a matter of course with my parents that it's just what I do. It's almost expected.
Right.
So it doesn't matter how much I do or how much I achieve. There is none of that pride or love that I used to get from my grandmother coming from them. Nobody is filling that space.
Right.
And so that space remains.
Right. Or you will have to learn how to give that to yourself. And
Yes.
and that is the beauty between it's almost like the natural consequence of what will happen between your relationship with your daughter. And that is exactly what she is illuminating. This is why she's illuminating that wound for you. It's not to hurt you. It is not to make you suffer. It is because you are being called to heal that wound. These are your words. I didn't say that. And she will keep doing that until you feel like you're fully resolved. So it's interesting how you said the important relationship is between me and my daughter, but yet we are still here and talking about you and your mom and your grandmother. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Right, because this is the core of it all.
Well, because it came into alignment like things like to do very nicely in time. This thing happened with my mother, and then these things came to light with my daughter. And the more I sat with the one, the more I saw myself. And the more, and what you said about how it's all about me filling my own that space, myself, with my own self-love is something that I came to that day, sitting with that wound, that space inside of myself, going, the only sustainable way to fill this space is if I do it myself.
Right. So then the question remains is how? How are you?
Well, quick.
And this is where I would like to ask you, this is where I'm going to go back to the question of how did you learn to soothe that pain? So things like, for example, I'm going to give you some examples of things that women do when they feel that incredible pain and wounding. And you use the word, I think you've used the word tear. And in my coaching, I use the word rupture. So it is a rupture. It is an emotional rupture because there is a misalignment between your higher self that knows how, a human, how a child of God should be treated. But then, so between that and what's happening in reality, there's a huge gap. And your higher self knows that. And so that is the source of this rupture. But that doesn't mean that you have to live like this until the rest of your days.
Well, no, the question is, like the question that I was asking myself is, well, I do all of this self-care already. I rise early and I journal and I do my work and I have a business that I'm incredibly passionate about and I go to the gym and I do my best to eat well and I hydrate myself properly and I do all of these things, and yet this rupture still exists. And so what does it need?
What does the rupture?
Yes. Okay. What does this piece of me need?
Okay. So let's do this together. Let's find out. This is amazing. This is where working with a coach is so instrumental, especially for those of us who are doing the work. But it's a lot easier to tap into the answer when somebody else is leading and guiding the questioning.
Oh, 100%.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite you to close your eyes.
Okay.
And then I'm going to invite you to place your right hand on your chest between your boobs and the other hand on your belly.
It always makes me laugh in yoga when I'm asked to put my hand on my chest as a woman. I'm like, I can't actually get to my heart. There's stuff in the way.
Right. Which is where the work of embodiment and embodiment gets into play, right? It's our ability to touch ourselves without feeling, ooh,
Mm-hmm.
So that is the connection between ourselves and our body. So again, put your right hand on your chest and your left hand on your belly. And let's just take together 3 deep breaths. And the breaths that I'm inviting you to take they're called Ujjayi breath, that basically you're going to inhale through your nose and exhale through your nose as well. Okay, so your mouth is closed. So in your ear, you should be hearing almost like an ocean wave. Okay. So now that you feel grounded and hopefully connected, more connected to yourself, I want you to envision in front of you this wound, that rupture. Can you see it?
That's easy. Yep. When I connected with it, it came with a very strong image.
Okay. Can you tell me about this image?
It's a heart-shaped heart, but the color of a heart chakra, so it's glowing green. And it has, because I'm looking at it in front of me, the rupture is kind of along my left.
So the left side in psychospiritual world represents our relationship, our actually wounding with our father, whereas the right side is rupturing and hurt that comes from our mothers. So the right side is the maternal side, the feminine side, and the left side is our masculine side and paternal side. So that is interesting. And then can you tell me?
If it was in my chest, though, it would be on the right.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you. And anything else that you want to say? What is maybe so you talked about the color and you talked about the shape. Anything else that you want to share about this rupture?
Well, and I know that bound, gagged girl lives inside of that rupture.
So your 14-year-old, she lives inside. Can she talk to this rupture? Is she in connection to it? Does she know how to come out of there? Or is she feeling stuck inside?
I think by just becoming aware of her, it was like she rose up out of the darkness for me to become aware of her. So I think she's able to leave that space. And I did a little bit of work, I sat with her and unbound her and ungagged her, but that's as far as I've gotten with her.
Okay, that's amazing. So now that you are in this space of seeing her being trapped, maybe, is that the word, inside of this?
I don't even think she's trapped. I just think that that's where she lives.
Okay, she lives there. Okay, thank you. So the 14-year-old Stephanie lives inside of this rupture, and the rupture is glowing green and it's in the shape of a heart. And the rupture is almost like, it's like a cage. It's like the girl wants to be free, but then there is this house, there is this home that is enclosing her and not allowing her to be free.
I would use a different word. Instead of a cage, I would call it a cave.
A cave. Ooh, I love that. Okay, thank you. That's amazing. So the cave is green on the outside, or is it cave?
So it's the whole piece is like if you've ever seen a crystal heart, it's that shape, right? And it's 3-dimensional. And it kind of has that if you've ever seen and I know you have, the image of a heart chakra, it has that color. And because chakras deal with light, it's glowing like it's full of that light.
Right.
It just has that tear in that one side. And there's darkness inside that tear. It's not enclosed. There's nothing closing it. It's open. And that's kind of where she is.
Oh, that's beautiful. Can you talk to this rupture?
Oh, well, I don't know. I haven't tried.
So with your permission, can we try?
Sure.
So maybe ask the rupture, what does it need in order for it to heal and to turn into a scar? What does it need from you?
I think I need to be able to forgive them for not being able to give me what they can't give me.
Who is them?
My parents. They were never, Nana always gave me all of that. She poured the love and the pride into that space. Because they don't know how. They don't have it in them. I know my dad's got trauma. I don't know what it is, but I know that he does. And he has projected that trauma onto my mother, and my mother has trauma of her own, which neither of them have ever healed. And it's not even that they're withholding those things from me. It's that it's not even in them. They don't have the capacity.
Right. Because they can't give you what they themselves didn't get, right? It's like, we have to remember, when it comes to this healing the mother wound, it's understanding that we are children that were raised by victims of victims.
Yes.
It's that's why blaming our parents is a huge energy leak, and it's just a waste of energy and time. So in that space of feeling connected to the rupture and seeing it so vividly, and seeing the girl inside of this cave, you are being called to forgive. To forgive your mom, to forgive your dad, to forgive them for what?
For not being able to give me the love and the pride that fills that rupture, that closes that rupture.
So let's say that we'll bring you back to the Stephanie of today. And the Stephanie of today already has wisdom and life experience, and she knows better. You know better. She wants this 14-year-old to understand that she's loved, and there's nothing wrong with her, and she's not broken, and that she deserves love, and she's worthy of it, and she's fully capable of giving love and just having joy in her life. And that is so super important for your relationship with your daughter, right? Because this is what you are being called to give. So so from what you're seeing here is that the root for you, the core of this situation, is to heal some healing work around forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to embody, right? So we talked about embodiment as being the practice of getting out of your head and getting into your body, so that it's 100% fully integrated into who you are. How how are you going to forgive? What do you need to do in order to forgive them? In order to forgive daddy, in order to forgive mommy?
I did a little bit of work around this earlier this week, around my mom specifically, because it related directly to her. I need to understand that I can't choose her life for her. And what I can do, the action that I can take, is act intentionally to create space in alignment with how I want to feel, knowing who she is and letting her be who she is and not trying to change her.
Right. And how do you want to feel?
I want to feel free of the anger. I want to feel full.
Full with what? Full
Love.
of what?
Full of love.
Yeah.
And I think, in alignment with full of love is full of life.
And why do you feel like you are not full of love at this moment? What is depleting this love? What is the leak?
Well, I'm missing the person that used to fill me with it. My husband is not there's a great deal of truth between me and my husband, and I know that he loves me. But my grandmother was always, she like me, she speaks it and she acts it. And so she would always tell me how proud she was of me and how wonderful that she thought that I was and how miraculous she thought that I was. And my mother and father can't give that to me. My husband it's not him to give that to me.
Exactly.
And I can't ask him to be what he's not, nor would it even feel right coming from him.
And it's not his job.
Exactly. Like, it would be different if he was that kind of a person, but ultimately, what happens when he dies? That hole's still there, right? Because I haven't learned how to fill it myself.
Right. It sounds like your love language is words of affirmation. Are you familiar with the 5 love languages?
I am, and yes, it is. When I was having a hard time with it earlier this week, I called a couple of my dear girlfriends, and I asked my husband too. I said, listen, what I need from you guys right now, like, I'm dying here. I need you guys to say something nice to me about me, please.
Okay, that's great. And this is again, I want you to see it as an opportunity for healing and self-mastery, because you do have the power to self-give. So again, coming back to the embodiment piece, remember we talked about how it is, as women, we are looking outside of ourselves to fill in these holes or wounds.
Mm-hmm.
So can you see how it's manifesting in your life? And it's okay to love your grandmother. She will always be loved by you, and she deserves that place.
I love her so much.
And so that same way that you love your grandmother, that same emotion that you feel towards her, that is the emotion that you need to learn to give to yourself.
It's so funny that what immediately comes up for me is I have no idea how to even begin doing that. Like, I understand how to feel it, because as you said it, the feeling came up, and I know that I can turn that feeling back onto myself, and that felt comfortable. But action, right? The magic is in the action. And so how do you
Cultivate it?
What's not the right question. If my love language is words of affirmation, then how do I create resonant words of affirmation that feed myself, from myself.
Okay, so let's play this game. Let's pretend you are 10, just like your daughter is right now, the same age, and your Nana is here. What would you say? Let's say, imagine there's something really bad happened and you've been scolded or whatever happened, and she's there. She is there. Nana is here. What would you say?
If something bad had happened, she would just listen. She would listen, and then she would tell me how miraculous I am and how much she loves me and how proud she is of me and how she knows that I will find my way through it and that she'll always be there.
Okay, so what you just said, that's beautiful. But can you see how you're using your kind of left brain, the logical side, to rationalize it? What I want you to say is, so imagine Nana is here, and I want you to use her words. So as though she's you.
Oh, Lord.
Stephanie, my love. That is what I'm looking for. That is where embodiment resides. Does it make sense?
Yes, 100%. But
you can do this.
That's a tender spot.
I know, and I'm taking you there intentionally because this is where healing happens. When you learn to take care, to give to yourself that which you need, that which was projected to you out, from the outside, and you feel there is resonance there, you feel like there is, it speaks to you. That is the same thing that you will need to learn to say to yourself. So let's practice it. What would be maybe a sentence or two that she would say?
So you're bringing me right back to, I was sleeping over at her house, and I was 10 years old, and I had all of a sudden this terror of death for some reason. It happened to my daughter around the same age too. And she came and she sat next to me, and she kind of, stroked my hair, and she said to me, life is hard and life is scary and we all die, but we also all live. And you are beautiful and you are magical and you have a beautiful life ahead of you. And I will be here as long as I will be here. I will always be with you.
Do you believe her? Did you believe her?
Oh, 100%. And I know that she's still here. I have her picture hanging up in my bedroom by my bed. I talk to her all the time. I have a picture of her in my kitchen. I have pictures of her all over my house.
Right, because she's a part of who you are.
I've never visited her gravesite because I don't believe that she's there.
So how did it feel to say these words? To mother,
real. That felt real.
So the next time you feel like you felt yesterday, that you felt like the need to be affirmed, to be, just for somebody else to say something nice. This is not to say that we don't need anybody. We don't need other people's, stroking of our ego. That's totally fine. But that's not where it begins. It begins with our ability to give to ourselves that which we need the most from the outside. That is full integration. And to raise our girls from that place, how would that make your relationship with your daughter, your mothering experience different?
There would be more connection between us.
Why?
And my daughter and I are...
Why would there be more connection? I'm sorry to cut you off.
That's okay. My daughter and I are already quite connected. Because I think that she would feel safe coming to me with stuff that she doesn't even know why she thinks is hard.
Right.
Like, I know that she's struggling with what it means to be a 10-year-old girl right now. She's come into a whole new level of self. a whole new understanding of herself, a whole new level of emotional complexity and intensity.
Right.
And she knows it's hard, but she doesn't know why it's hard, and she doesn't know how to say that it's hard. And I think that what I mean when I say that there would be more connection is she would be able to just come to me and say, Mom, I need you. Without being expected to articulate why as soon as she arrives.
Right. And that is so amazing. And you are so lucky for having that with her. And you've created this. All the work that you've done, that's the result. And I want you to be so proud of yourself. But I don't want you to need that sense of pride to come from me or from your husband. That is something that you need to cultivate within yourself. It's like
my own pride isn't big enough. But where is the balance between pride and narcissism? There's fullness of self, and then there's full of yourself.
I love that question.
How is one different than the other?
Well, you tell me yourself. Tell me what a narcissist is. Somebody who is narcissistic.
Narcissism is abusive. Narcissism is manipulative.
Exactly.
Whereas have a fullness of self is nurturing.
Exactly. You've just answered your own question.
Of course I did. That's what coaches do, isn't it? You make us answer our own damn questions.
All right. So, of course, this is not complete full resolution, but do you feel a good idea of how to start?
Oh, absolutely. I've unbound and ungagged the girl, and I understand that all of this with my mother and the girl has a relationship with this and me and my daughter. I was there, but I didn't know the next thing.
So what is the next step?
Well, the next step is what we're talking about here, doing this work of creating, cultivating the fullness of self.
Yeah. It's the embodiment of self-love, self-acceptance, of just knowing that you're worthy. And yes, it's nice to have somebody else stroke your ego, but it's not when it's done between you and you, between yourself to yourself, with yourself, it's not really ego. Then the question is more, it's almost like existential. It's almost like we, inside of ourselves, are question our very own existence. Do we deserve to be here? Am I worthy of all of this?
Well, and how can I really embody love for others until I can really embody love for myself?
100%. So it sounds like your next thing to learn in your evolution of who you're becoming is to learn how to love. And what's interesting is that which you see is a heart, which is a representation of love in our culture.
Oh, absolutely. And as I sat with it a couple of days ago, I came to kind of clarity around the fact that the work now ahead of me is all about love, to grow my business, to attract more money, and my business is about supporting transformation, through the written word. And all of that work is rooted in love.
Yeah. Yeah. And I need you. We need you. Those who are creating transformation in the world, we need you to learn to love yourself, because if you cannot love yourself, you cannot show up fully.
And it's not as though I'm full of self-loathing. it's that the depth of it is lacking. That there are wounds that need to be healed in order to reach, deeper, truer, fuller love. The beginnings are there, the foundations are there, the work is already being done. We've just, discovered a new wound, or an old wound that's been there a while, that is, the healing of which is going to be powerful.
Right. It's resurfacing. Yeah. Awesome. I'm so proud of you. I know you want to hear that. So here it is. I'm so proud of you for all the work that you're doing. And you know what? I would be proud of you even if you didn't. Because you're worthy, and you're not broken, and you're whole, and you're complete, and you're learning. And that is the only thing that is required of you. As a woman, as a wife, as a mother, as a friend, as a daughter. That is how we grow. It's in the embracing the I am learning, and that's okay.
Oh, I am always learning. I
know.
I am a lifelong learner. If I could be in school for the rest of my life, I would be. And guess what? Life is school. So
life is school, right? And you got this opportunity, this incredible opportunity of raising a girl she's your angel.
Well, and would you like to know the beauty of it?
Sure.
My grandmother's name was Eleanor, and my daughter's name is Ella. That was obviously purposeful, but my Nana would have loved her.
That's amazing. How do you feel, Stephanie? You can open your eyes.
I feel good.
Great.
I feel lighter.
Yes. The work of embodiment, it's so interesting because we want to feel full, but the work of embodiment is actually making us and helping us to feel lighter.
Oh, but think about this. It's being full of light.
Right. It's full of light. And light doesn't have weight.
It doesn't have mass. Yeah.
No, it doesn't have a mass. Anyways, thank you so much. This has been so amazing. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to guide you. How do you feel? You feel good?
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. All right. Thank you.
Alrighty. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for your vulnerability, for sharing. You guys, can you relate to Stephanie? Did you see how Stephanie has a lot of self-awareness and has done a lot of work on herself, but she's still stuck in a place of needing and hunger for approval and words of affirmation, which is fine. It's totally normal. But again, when we mature, when we get through that process of graduating from girlhood and stepping into womanhood, that is something that is required to learn to do. Do you also struggle to forgive your parents for not providing you with what you needed the most growing up? And different people, we all need different things, which is why really we cannot blame our parents for that which we didn't have, because for us, I'm thinking of myself as a mom, I have my own aspirations on how I view parenting. And those things could mean nothing really to my kids. At the end of the day, they will perceive what I gave or didn't give as in their own way. And that is okay. This is their path. But, so we can never blame our parents. We can never blame, other people who were taking care of us for what they've done, because we always have to assume that they have done the best that they could with the information that they had. So, but still, you've had whatever you had, and you perceived your past however you perceived it, and it is still affecting you. Do you struggle with wanting to change your mom or dad? Do you feel like your past is still chasing you? What is your love language? Is it also words of affirmation? I feel like so many women have this as their love language. Do you also feel like you need someone else to say something nice about you to you? Do you feel like your well-being and your doing well in life depends on external confirmation? Do you also don't know how to give love to yourself, how to self-soothe. In Stephanie's words, how do I create words of affirmation that will resonate and will help me to love myself? Do you also feel like your own pride of yourself is not big enough, not good enough, not validating enough, not sufficient to do the job of pushing you through the hard times? So Stephanie's key insights and ahas that she received during the call. First of all, is self-love begins from inside, even though it feels really good to get it from the outside world. On this call, Stephanie learned that this is not a sustainable way of self-care, as it depends on external sources and circumstances that not always are aligned with your current needs, right? Because think about it. What if the person who used to tell you these things is having a bad day or not feeling like you deserve it? Or like in Stephanie's case, this person has passed, right? And then the difference between self-love and narcissism is that narcissism is destructive and it hurts people around you. Whereas self-love is self-giving as well as giving to others, because when you take care of yourself, you are filling your cup. And when your cup is full, you can give to others. And that is the difference. Another thing that I think Stephanie learned on this call is to mother our daughters really well, we must first learn how to mother ourselves. Loving yourself and providing self-reassurance for yourself is a form of self-mothering and self-nurturing. A great question to think about is, how can we embody love for others when we haven't yet learned how to love ourselves, right? And I love how Stephanie came up with this question herself. We do the work of embodiment to feel full, but it actually helps us feel lighter. And as Stephanie said herself so beautifully, this fullness doesn't have a mass, because this is being full of light. I love that. So true. So here are some practical and tangible suggestions Stephanie can try so that she can start embodying self-trust and feel connected to herself again. And you guys, this is for you too. So whenever you feel disconnected from yourself, get quiet with yourself and start breathing this Ujjayi breath that we've done on the call. And then create some visual imagery to help you see the shape, the color, the texture, the smell, and all the sensory imagery you can think of to help you connect to the pain. And then ask it, what does it need? It is a great idea to journal about it and access your own wisdom and guidance. And like I always say, this is, you have everything you need inside of you. It's just a matter of asking yourself the right question and then being courageous enough and diligent enough to answer the questions. And then another thing that actually is very much related to today's call is really trusting that whatever guidance comes for you, it's true. It's the truth. It's your truth. And then obviously taking the action on it. Also, when you feel like you need something that someone else cannot give you, tap into your own reserves and speak to yourself in that same matter. Like you've heard today, Stephanie had a loving grandmother who loved, nurtured, and soothed her pain in her childhood. And now, as a part of becoming an adult, grown woman, it is her job to give it to herself. Also, let's be honest here for a moment. It is no one's job to soothe us and provide for us. People don't owe us anything, and we have to stop expecting this from them. It is no one's job to stroke our egos when we need that stroking. That would be narcissism. Although it feels very good, let it be something that your feeling good about yourself is not dependent upon. You are a 100%, you have the power within you to give to yourself that which you need the most. You are self-giving. You can sustain yourself. You can survive on your own. Yes, you can. Now, you might be thinking, well, if that's true, why do I need other people in my life? Well, the answer to that is simple. We are human beings and we are social beings. And when we interact with people, let it come from a place of enriching and strengthening each other, as opposed to neediness and perpetuating codependency. This is the best, most sustainable way to have healthy and thriving relationships in your life, no matter with whom. The other thing is Stephanie's mom is triggering in her something that many of my clients have as well. And that is a great clue, even though it feels so annoying and hard. This is how we become the mothers that we wish we have had. This is at the core of my work with women and mothers. That nagging feeling of not this, of I don't want to relieve or recreate that same suffering I've had for my own children. That is a very important point. And I encourage you to look at this with courage and clarity, because your daughters need you to, right? So show up for yourself so that you can show up for them fully. By the way, I've connected with Stephanie after this session, and she shared with me that her heartbeat reading was the most stable after our session in months. And I thought that was so cool. And it really, the truth is that this doesn't surprise me. And by the way, can you see how the heart is a recurring theme and symbol in Stephanie's life? Mentally, emotionally, and physically, the heart is a common thread, which is a great clue for her that she needs to do some work around self-love and self-nurturing, self-sustainability, and self-giving. And by the way, this is super important for her, as I know she's working on building and growing her business. In order to be successful in business, we must learn how to believe in ourselves, how to believe in our ideas, and then getting paid for a product or service that we provide is a form of receiving and accepting energy from the outside world, right? Because when we are in business, this is our creative outlet. This is a reciprocal process. And this will help her to reclaim her own power as a woman, as mother, and also a daughter. So to answer her question at the beginning of our call, how to thrive within this messy dynamic that she's present in between her mother and her daughter. The answer is claiming yourself and loving who you truly are, authentically, for real, without doubting your own existence, judging yourself or your actions. This, Stephanie, is your health mission, and it begins with you. All right, everybody, this is what I have for you today. Again, I want to remind everybody that the January round of the Health Begins with Mom Mastery Experience is open for enrollment. This is a 6-month incubator to help you break free from anything that is holding you back from shining your true light. In Stephanie's case, she would join this program to learn how to cultivate self-love, how to cultivate self-acceptance and self-giving. This can be done. And I know that it sounds like, oh, it must be nice, it's too good to be true, and it's okay, I'll do this later. But now is the time, as she is raising her daughter. And if you if one of your biggest aspirations is to raise good, strong, fierce girls and women, then you have to step up in your own life. This is my own personal opinion. And you guys know I'm raising 3 girls, and this is what I do, right? I teach this because this is what I need the most. This is my sacred work and how I help mothers to raise healthier families, starting with themselves. What you've heard today is an example of how I work with women and how each coaching session sounds and feels like. In this program, I'm going to hold your hand, and together we're going to do the work that you are afraid to do on your own. I will mother you, I will love on you, I will nurture you, teach you how to eat in alignment with your feminine energy, balance your hormones, expand your emotional mastery container. You will learn how to negotiate with your inner critic, how to heal your mother wound, and become the woman, wife, and mother that deep down inside you know that you are destined to be. This work is sacred and it is dedicated to your healing. You deserve it. I want you to take a stand for yourself courageously so that you can show up your very best as a woman, wife, and mother. So if this is something that you would like to explore, head on over to www.healthbeginswithmom.com/apply and we'll get on the phone and see if you're a good fit. So ladies, if you enjoy this show and feel called to help me share this message with more moms and women, please write an honest review on iTunes. This is the best way of showing your appreciation and also showing me that you care about this message and you would like me to have more of these sessions. And these words help you become a better version of yourself as a woman, wife, and a mother. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you for being a listener and for showing up for yourself, for choosing yourself every single day, because guess what? You matter. You are worthy. You are divine. You are a child of God. So I'm sending you so much love and healing, and I'll catch you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Health Begins with Mom show. I love hearing from you, so please post your comments and questions over at healthbeginswithmom.com/podcast. If you love the show, please share it on social media and in your real life with other moms who might enjoy this content. And if you have a burning question or topic you'd like me to hit on the show, just drop me a line at dorit@healthbeginswithmom.com. And if you love this show and really want to support it, please go to iTunes, write a review, and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time. Much love and many blessings.